This is Live Music Capital, a podcast about the business and politics of making music in Austin, Texas, and beyond. Live Music Capital is powered by Austin City Jams. Now, here's your host, Eric Lycum.
Thank you, Mark Waldy. Hello and welcome to Live Music Capital. Well, the pandemic has undoubtedly reshaped pretty much every aspect of human life these days, and making music is no exception. Thriving clubs and theaters with countless bands and performers all shut down. Health officials warning people to avoid gatherings with others in enclosed spaces as the coronavirus spreads unchecked throughout the state's most populous areas. Once busy musicians lay idle. Many are collecting unemployment benefits and taking advantage of grants and programs to help sustain themselves as they await the day it's safe to play out again. And by the looks of it, that day's not coming anytime soon. We'll touch on what's out there in this edition. Many musicians are reinventing themselves through playing live stream shows. We'll see how the pandemic has changed the way some musicians approach making music. That's coming up right now on Live Music Capital. On April 23, 2020, the Austin City Council passed an ordinance to designate $1.5 million for the Austin Music Disaster Relief Fund. The grants were for what they called Austin's most vulnerable musicians experiencing economic hardship.
Musicians with at least 2 years of documentation showing the applicant has regularly performed as a professional musician, solo or as part of a band, in studio recordings or live performances to public audiences in Austin, or 6 release recordings, singles, or 6 promotionally released music videos are eligible to receive funds. Who is considered Austin's most vulnerable musicians? Any Austin musician who meets the minimum eligibility criteria and who has less than 2 months living expenses available today. Bank statements and other documentation will be required for verification.
From a city video explaining the program, for a $1,000 grant, eligible applicants had to show income loss due to COVID-19 pandemic. Those applicants had to reside within one of the 10 Austin City Council districts. The program is being administered by the Grammys Music Cares Foundation.
After we engaged our local music industry organization for feedback, the Economic Development Department determined that Music Cares Foundation would be the most appropriate organization to disperse these funds quickly and responsibly due to their expertise and existing infrastructure. Music Cares is a nonprofit charity that has provided more than $60 million in health, financial, and rehabilitation resources to music people in times of need. In recent months, they have even coordinated distribution of COVID relief funds to more than 14,000 applicants nationwide. With decades of experience, Music Cares brings a level of professionalism to ensure that this grant process is successfully distributed.
Those who had already received a Music Cares grant that we talked about on the last episode were not eligible for this grant. The city said it was exploring additional federal and local funds that may be available to help the music community. The city is also offering grants of up to $50,000 for venues and creative spaces. In Fort Worth, there's a creative industry relief fund that was supported by the United Way of Tarrant County and Here in Film Fort Worth. In Austin, the Sun Radio Foundation has been helping musicians struggling to pay their electric utility bills with a program called the Sun Radio Recharge. It started with a grant of $10,000, but just this week, they announced an anonymous donor gave $200,000 in an effort to keep the lights on and the music playing in the live music capital. Except for a fortunate few, most musicians remain sidelined because of the COVID-19 pandemic indefinitely. But many are discovering new audiences and a new way to perform with live streaming. I myself have performed in several live stream shows, both as a solo artist and with Sharon Bourbonnais. Several other artists have taken to regularly presenting live stream shows on Facebook Live, including Bill Kirchen, Danny Britt, Oliver Steck, Patrice Pike, Shelley King, Flora Mae Holiday, Michael Cross and Joanna Howerton, The Flying A's, Jackie Venson, Monty Warden, and many more. Some of the biggest names have done special live stream shows, including Del Castillo, Shiny Ribs, and Asleep at the Wheel. Among the most prolific of the live streaming artists is Chris Gage. The Austin mainstay has found tremendous success with his wife Christine Albert in their Monday night Chris Gage Not at Don's Depot and Friday night Albert and Gage Good Time Hour shows. How do they do
You're
it?
my best friend, baby. You're my confidant. You're the only lover that I'll ever need or want. You're my morning glory. You're my evening dew. Tell me, darling, what am I to you?
Hey, Eric. Chris Gage here. Thanks for asking. You know, about half of my livelihood was running out into the world and playing shows for audiences, you know, people packed into a bar or into a church or a house concert, you know, and with the pandemic, all of that has stopped. But, you know, it's funny, Christine Albert, my wife, and I had just 6 months ago been kind of forced to move our recording studio into our home. So we remodeled our home and made room for everything and brought in the grand piano and the organ and all the recording equipment. And we had no idea that we were setting ourselves up to be broadcasting from home during a pandemic, which is what we're doing. Every Monday, we've gone live on Facebook from our recording studio and put on a little show, you know, that's entertaining, and people are donating through the various online banking platforms, and we're able to send some money to the bartenders that we work with at Don's Depot, where I've played every Monday for 25 years, and gotten a little money into the hands of our band members, our sidemen that don't have an avenue to put themselves out there and make any money.
Actually, the whole pandemic has kind of taken my mind away from the writing of songs and just a refocusing on how to maneuver this pandemic and how to create a career from my home and not be around people.
Former State Musician of the Year Shelley King echoes Gage's sentiments about halting the activity that sustained them for so long.
It's really difficult when my whole career has always been based on how many tickets you can sell and how packed you can get a show. Now it's completely opposite. So I've just been absolutely rethinking everything. And most of my career now, the focus has been we've gone online with a live stream show weekly. And we're putting the effort into building the viewership on the live stream show and figuring out how to make that work out in the long run. So that's what I'm doing for the foreseeable future. There's been a lot of work that we've had to put into learning new skills, new video skills and new apps and things. And it's just a complete shift. Whereas we may have previously thought about audio recording, now we're spending a lot more time worrying about lighting and different things like that. So in that way, there are aspects where we are growing as artists because we're learning so many new skills and branching out. Like I said, I think it has taken away from my energy for writing new material, but that's got to change soon. So I spent a lot of time working on a new video. I have a new record that just came out right before all of this, and I spent a lot of time producing my own video and putting it out, and then now have shifted into this live stream focus. And then I guess our next move will be trying to actually write new material.
It's a hurricane party, hurricane, hurricane party, hurricane. The pressure drop, we won't stop. It's a hurricane party. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Of course, playing the piano is still the same. Singing is still the same. It's the presentation is way changed.
Austin piano-based singer-songwriter Sharon Bourbonnais determined rather quickly that the key to survival was to be smart, calm, and inventive.
But as soon as the pandemic hit Austin and South by was closed down. I lost a ton of gigs, had so many gigs lined up for that period of time. But it was right around the time I was finishing up recording horns with Tiger and Mark Wilson at Moonhouse with Chris Gage. And that's when we kind of had a little hint that something was up. Tiger was especially omnipresent or something about omniscient, yes, about the whole thing. He saw it coming, and he told us all that things were going to change, and they were going to change rapidly and in a major way, and they sure did.
It's a whole new world. A lot of recording projects are flying back and forth over the internet. So my recording studio, Moonhouse Studio, is still active. I'm working on finishing up an album by a friend of yours, Sharon Bourbonnais, who happens now to live right across the street. So she's my quarantine neighbor. We lift a cup of coffee every morning and say hello. And I don't know when any of this is going to change. You know, I think concerts and bars are going to be the last thing. It has to be just really safe. And I think this is going to be the norm for a while, and we're prepared for it. We lucked out. You know, I'm kind of an audio equipment hoarder. So when I needed various adapters to make this thing work and hook together all of our phones and our iPads and our microphones and get them all broadcasting live, I had drawers full of old adapters that I had never thrown out, and they all came in handy. So we're kind of lucky that way. The minute it looked like we were going to stay home, we got online and ordered a couple tools that we needed to do the broadcast. You know, we found a tripod adapter for the iPads, and we're gadget people, so we had just recently set ourselves up with brand new iPad Pros that are just perfect for doing this streaming.
It seems the time afforded by the pandemic, as well as the dramatic recent protests against racial injustice, have been fertile ground for some songwriters, but not others. Shelley King explains why some see no time and an overabundance of it.
Yeah, but there's so many distractions now with worrying about how you're going to try to pay the bills. I mean, there's so many distractions, whereas what we had done was set up our tour schedule for the year and had planned to work the tour and promote the album. And then all of that is out the window. Everything was canceled. So we have a new album, new merchandise, and no gigs. And so we're trying to figure that out. So it's not really a very inspiring situation to, make me want to get all dreamy and write a new song. Instead, it's more the focus on trying to survive. And right now, everyone is scrambling, trying to figure out how to make the ends meet. And we're just trying to get creative with our virtual shows and trying to make the ends meet with that.
The pandemic has meant a sea change in everyday life. Sharon Bourbonnais says she was one of the lucky ones. Her position as music director for Unity Church of Austin made her part of the essential worship team for the church's live stream services. As a private piano teacher, she was able to adapt FaceTime to teach her students. But her live stream journey began not with music, but with her passion for fitness.
The first thing that I started doing when I knew I couldn't go exercise and swim and teach Zumba was to start to do a yoga and dance live stream. I think that was my first attempt, and then I think the music came after that, because I don't think that the music had really sunk in yet. Was still fighting that. We had one live stream with the Jitterbug Vipers right when they said, you can only gather with 10 people or something, and so we counted heads and thought we were okay, and then got scolded by Chris Gage across the street. And we said, okay, can't do that anymore. And then that's when it sunk in that I've got to do a live stream all by myself. And so I started doing it the next Monday when we normally would have had the Driscoll.
Come on, it's time to get happy. Get ready to roll. Everybody Everybody's ready to party, come on, let's go.
Chris Gage.
I've been trying to help people. I get a lot of questions about how we're doing it and how they're doing it and how can we help. And I'm happy to help anybody that needs help getting online. And there's a lot of things I don't know. We're mainly just going through Facebook Live, and then we stream it on our website at albertandgage.com. So every Monday we have an outlet into the world, and it's keeping us sane, and it's keeping a few people getting a regular paycheck. We're just really grateful that people, while they're stuck at home, are going online and listening to live music. It sure helps us.
Shelley King says consistency is key.
I think the first couple of shows I did, people were very excited and things were really good, and now they've kind of leveled off a bit. So I think now it's just going to be consistency and trying to grow that base audience in something else. I've already noticed that I have a lot of people who check in every week and are watching the show every week. So I've already realized that I have like a certain fan base that is enjoying my weekly shows and putting it in their schedule and, gathering their family together with a cocktail or whatever and enjoying the show as part of their weekly music. So I do think that can grow.
Like Shelley, Sharon struggled before she hit her live streaming stride.
Then everyone's coming up with audio interface and dual cameras and things flashing across the screen, and so I tried my hand at that a couple of times and never really panned out for me. So it was a lot of trial and error. And I finally came up with a formula, if you will, which is my huge living room, to just kind of go PA/acoustic room vibe. Yeah. The first live stream I did a lot of that were unsuccessful, I would say. But we had a set gig with Lulu Fest, and that's when I had asked Beth Gallagher to come over and play on the porch. So we wouldn't be in the same room, and we did one live stream before that, and it worked really, really well. I had the camera set and my acoustic piano, and it went really well. And then when we did Lulu Fest, we were sharing the live stream with people all over the world who had all the equipment and all the microphones and the what have yous, but everyone really liked the sound of my live stream because you could hear my voice, you could hear it like if I was in the room with you. So that's what really kind of was the turning point, was Lulu Fest.
So as weeks go by and the pandemic continues, and until hearing live music outside the home becomes a safer endeavor, it appears that live streaming will be the predominant way live music is presented.
Well, we walk the dog and say hello to everybody, but we're staying home. We're staying in. Texas is still on the rise as far as cases go, and we're very aware of that. We're tuned into Governor Abbott and Mayor Adler, and just kind of paying attention and doing what we can.
Something that I think will probably result in more solo shows, and I've been considering a social distancing house concert where, maybe 10 people and just a little higher ticket price, and perhaps everybody brings their own stuff and sits out in the yard. I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but there's got to be a way, because we all need to connect and we all want live music. Although I do believe that the virtual shows are a great way to bring people together, I still think people are craving real connection in person. So hopefully there is a way to get to that this year. I don't see myself getting inside of a crowded bar, though.
People want to see real, They don't want to see too much of a proper thing. I think everyone has had live streams from hell. Everyone has had glitches and, everything happen. And I think as a human race, we can accept that and we adore that in each other.
And as live streaming becomes more popular, it's no surprise that Austin is poised to become the live streaming music capital of the world. Some breaking news. The Austin City Limits Music Festival for 2020 has been canceled. Organizers announced the decision today, July 1st. ACL Fest organizers said it was the only responsible solution for protecting the health and safety of their fans, artists, partners, and staff. They blamed the decision on the uncertainty surrounding the current situation in Texas, meaning the coronavirus pandemic, of course. This year would have been the 20th anniversary of the ACL Festival. Those who already bought tickets were encouraged to hold on to them for next year's festival at 2019 prices, but said refunds would be made available for those requesting that. The festival supports the Austin Parks Foundation and has for 15 years. The ACL Festival will return for 2 weekends in October of next year. And that's going to do it for this edition of Live Music Capital. Thanks again to Chris Gage. His live stream, Chris Gage Not at Don's Depot, streams Monday at 8 p.m. Central on Facebook Live. Thanks to my friend and former bandmate Shelley King. Her Facebook live stream solo show is on Sundays at 2 p.m. Central. And thanks to Sharon Bourbonnais, her Get Happy Hour live stream Monday evening, 6:30 Central on Facebook Live. Check out my website, ericlycom.com. You can find previous episodes of this podcast on the Live Music Capital Facebook page. Live Music Capital is on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and YouTube. For myself, Eric Lycom, and our announcer, Mark Waldy, thank you for listening, liking, commenting, and sharing. And I'll be back soon with another Live Music Capital.